We're always told that if we just have the right strategy, the right business, the right stock pick, we're going to win. But what if I told you that's only half the story? We're about to dive into a really powerful idea that when you do something can be so much more important than what you do. And this quote just nails it. Think about it. In the lead up to the 1929 crash, using leverage to buy stocks was making people millionaires. After the crash, that exact same strategy was making millionaires broke. The tactic didn't change one bit. The entire environment, the season, did. So here's a puzzle for you, and it kind of messes with everything we think we know about success. How is it possible that a construction worker starting out in 1998 with no college degree could build more real estate wealth than a top grad from a top university, earning six figures who started in 2018? I mean, on paper, that just doesn't make any sense. Now, it's easy to just chalk that up to luck, but the uncomfortable truth is it's not random at all. There is a pattern, a predictable super cycle of economic seasons that's been repeating for over 250 years. See, that construction worker wasn't just lucky. He was standing at the very beginning of a new cycle. And that graduate? She wasn't lazy. She was standing at the very end of one. What this really means is that your position in that cycle sets the rules of the game. If you borrow money and invest it during an economic spring, you look like a genius. You build an empire. But if you do the exact same thing during a winter, you lose everything. It's the same move, but the board itself has completely changed underneath your feet. Okay, so how do we actually navigate this? Well, we need a framework, a mental model. We're going to use what the source material calls the four-season wealth model. Now, this isn't about having a crystal ball to predict the exact date of a crash. It's more like a strategic map for understanding which season you're in and how you should be playing the game. So first up, you've got spring, the ignition phase. Think about the dawn of the internet back in the 90s. A brand new technology just blows open a new frontier. It's like the Wild West. Capital pours in and the people who get there first can grab a huge piece of the pie. In this season, using leverage, borrowing money to grow faster, is like strapping a rocket to your back. And after spring, well, that gives way to summer, the euphoria phase. The new tech is everywhere now, asset prices are just going vertical, and everyone starts to believe that the good times are here to stay. You start hearing phrases like, it's a new paradigm, or this time is different. And what's really dangerous here is that debt starts to feel like just another tool, when in reality, it's slowly tightening like a noose. Then we drift into autumn. And you have to understand, this is probably the most dangerous and treacherous season of all. Growth starts to slow down, but on the surface, everything still looks pretty good. The problem is that big tech breakthrough from the spring has kind of run its course, but people keep using their summer playbook, leveraging up, chasing those high returns, and they're just getting less and less for it. This is where fortunes get vaporized. And that, of course, brings us to winter. The Great Reset. All that debt becomes a crushing weight. Defaults start a chain reaction, and asset prices just collapse. Suddenly, everyone's trying to sell to get cash, but nobody's buying. Liquidity, the ability to sell something, anything, just vanishes. It's a brutal, painful phase, but it's what sets the stage for the single most important insight in this whole model. And this is it, the great inversion. Look, in spring and summer, holding cash feels stupid. You're missing out. It's an opportunity cost. But in winter, the rules completely flip upside down. Cash becomes the ultimate weapon. That $1 million that bought your one condo at the peak of the boom might now buy you the entire building. Why? Because you're the only one with cash when everyone else is desperate. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's a neat theory. But it's not a theory. The world's most successful investors have been using this exact framework for generations. So let's take a look at how the titans of finance have actually played the seasons. Get this. For over a century, through 5 full economic cycles, the Rockefeller family has followed a simple, almost ridiculously counterintuitive rule. They deliberately keep about 30% of their entire portfolio in cash or cash equivalents, and they do this even during massive booms when everyone else is 100% invested in the market. I mean, can you imagine the psychological pressure of that? Your friends, your peers are all getting rich, leveraging up, and you're just sitting there on a huge pile of unproductive cash. You'd look timid. You'd feel like you're missing out. But that's the whole point. That pain, that feeling of being left behind, that is the insurance premium you pay to not just survive winter, but to come out of it owning the board. And of course, you can't talk about this without talking about Warren Buffett. He is a master of deploying that winter cash. In September 2008, when the world was literally falling apart after Lehman Brothers collapsed, he put $5 billion into Goldman Sachs. But here's the kicker, and you really have to get this. He didn't time the bottom, not even close. The market dropped another 28% after he invested. The point is, he wasn't trying to be perfect. He acted when there was maximum fear and things were cheap enough. And look, this isn't some dusty old model that only applies to the stock market. We've seen these exact same seasons play out in hyperspeed in the world of crypto and DeFi, compressing decades of market cycles into just a few months. And the crypto winter of 2022 is a perfect case study. On one side, you had platforms like Celsius and Voyager. They were running a pure summer playbook, chasing crazy yields, taking on tons of risk. When the season changed, poof, bankrupt. But then you had protocols like MakerDAO and Aave. They had winter discipline, like mandatory over-collateralization booked right into their code. It wasn't a choice, it was structural. And they didn't just survive, they worked perfectly through the entire crisis. And that's the really crucial lesson here. The protocols that made it didn't just crawl into a hole and wait for spring. They used the winter as a building season. While all their competitors were tied up in court, they were busy restructuring, launching new products, and making their foundations even stronger for the next cycle. So we've walked through the framework, we've looked at the history, we've seen how it plays out in modern markets. Now for the only part that really matters. How does this apply to you? What is your position in the current season?
But before you run off, there's a really dangerous trap you need to know about. The more you learn about these cycles, the more you might find yourself waiting for the perfect moment. You see winter on the horizon, so you sit on your hands, waiting for the absolute perfect bottom to invest. This is the observer's paradox, where perfect awareness can lead to total paralysis. You end up with the same result as someone who is completely ignorant.
So let's just tie this all together real quick. The Rockefellers built a dynasty on having structural cash reserves. Buffett made billions by acting at a good enough moment, not a perfect one. Celsius and Voyager were wiped out because they had zero winter discipline. And MakerDAO survived because resilience was literally built into its DNA. I mean, the patterns here are crystal clear. Okay, now it's your turn. Time to turn the lens on yourself. And I want you to be really honest with these 5 questions. First, what percentage of your capital is actually liquid right now? Second, could your business or you personally survive for 18 months with zero new income? Third, are you still using a strategy that worked great 2 years ago but might be dead wrong for today? Fourth, how fast do things really change in your industry? And finally, and this is maybe the most important one to avoid that observer's paradox, do you have a pre-committed trigger that tells you when to act? And all of this really boils down to one final critical idea. You don't build resilience in the middle of a crisis. You don't start saving money when you've already lost your job. You have to build that strong foundation, that cash position, during the calm of summer and autumn. Because if you wait for the storm to hit, it's already way too late. So I'll leave you with this final question. Based on the structure you have in place right now, today, if winter arrived tomorrow morning, which side of that great inversion would you be on? Are you the one positioned to buy the building? Or are you the one selling your suit just to get your hands on some cash? The season is always changing. The only real question is, are you ready for it?